So Lindell Smith, I was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Politician, however you can say that. Decision maker, father, also an African Nova Scotian. Saying that, it's important to understand the area that I grew up in. So I grew up in the north end of Halifax. Goodwin Street is where I call my home. Uniacke Square is where I spent most of my time playing and hanging with my friends. And it's a very diverse and complex area with drug addiction, social housing, new businesses, seniors, just very complex. Growing up in a complex community and neighborhood builds a complex and truly unique understanding of your environment and creates, I'm never this nervous when I speak, I'm so sorry. That creates the need to make a difference and want to see the change. Growing up in a low-income community around and in social housing, it creates challenges. Many of those challenges create an in-the-box syndrome. And when you live in the box, it creates a disadvantage for you for how you move forward in life and how you integrate yourself within other communities. So growing up with that complex in my community, in my neighborhood, built a truly unique understanding of how to get out of that box. And understanding your environment also creates the need to make a difference and want to see the change, especially when you know that all you know is that box. So that starts when we think about community engagement. As an individual, you should not live by the label that is placed on you. You should be able to think about the bigger picture and make that change a reality. That all starts with community engagement. That all starts with finding what your passion is. And for me, it all started here at North Branch Library, from a young kid watching puppet shows, to being the youth programmer, to then being the puppet master later on in life, which was very fun. They'd be stuck here. From then, being able to create a nonprofit recording studio where youth were able to express themselves and take ownership of their space and who they are and who they want to be. And from doing that, you build the community and you build that need for youth to find their voice and want to make that change. And this is a picture here of, so the bottom picture was our first studio where we got a housing room and we outgrew that space, and then we were able to get a complex, 3-level complex where we built a recording studio and the youth called their own. So saying that, when you bring youth and you are able to help break that in the box thinking and take ownership and allow them to share their stories, it creates change. And this was a play that was put on by the youth at one of our theaters called the Hip Opera. That builds a community who now sees that their voice counts and wants to be included. It wants you to understand what they have to share and how they can share it. So this was one of our first youth sessions where we actually had youth creating action pieces for government, which then builds a circle of responsibility where now more and more of us as a whole, not just the youth, want to give back. Where you have men from the community who want to spend their own money and fill backpacks so kids from the community, no matter their walk of life, are able to go to school with full backpacks. And all this to say, that's how you get people from diverse communities and to not only to vote, but to care about their voices and decisions being made. And it all starts with just telling people that they are important and showing them that they do matter, which sometimes is not shown in communities like this. So for me, I knew that I wanted to not only show people that we do have a voice, but I also wanted to make it, I wanted to show that I wanted to show and prove, sorry. And the way to do that was to bridge the gap. I knew that gap needed to be bridged, and I knew that gap was overwhelmingly gapped. So how do we change that? How do we change the perspective? That's by community making themselves heard through government. And not only making themselves heard, but feeling that they're heard as well. So that's when it all came to, how do we do that? Well, somebody needs to be at the table. The election came, and it was time to start the campaign. And it all started from a history of being honest, from caring, from speaking to people of all walks of life, and allowing them to be heard. And all of that leads to a campaign with seven candidates, and every second person voting for us. And at the age of 26, it all started with a conversation or two. But it also doesn't stop at an election. It also begins, can you pick me up there? It also begins when you bring the people with you and show them that just because you're elected, the work doesn't stop. Your voice doesn't matter, and we're going to make sure that happens. And it's also using that position to share with others your experience. You might not understand your walk of life, where you come from, the people that you represent, and trying to get them involved and have them want to see more of themselves represented. And this was a planning school where we talked about affordable housing and social issues. So, all this to say, it all starts with having a conversation and naturally bringing people over, not only to vote, but to have their voice heard. This was done by a resident. I said I could have bought a horse because we have terrible election rules, and you put me on a horse. But it all starts with just conversation and having good governance. Thank you.